तो नहीं है, गम तो नहीं है, किससे हमारी नजदीकियों के कम तो नहीं है, कम तो नहीं है। इतनी दफा सुबह को मैंने तेरी आंगन में बैठे मैंने शाम किया, चन्ना मेरे आ चन्ना मेरे Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Just for those listening, just in case, this is a vocals only song by Johan Ahmed J vocals. We are not playing musical instruments. It is Ramadan, we are aware, and this is purely vocals only. All music or anything that sounds like music is made with the voice and the body only, so please do not be alarmed. We will be with you shortly, inshallah. قصد عيني ومش قادر على الأيام ولا يوصف هوايا كلام وطول ليلي ولما بنام قصد عيني. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. You are listening to the Better Together show with myself Atik, and I've also got Ridwan and Shafy in the studio today. Johan, wa alaikum salam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Unfortunately, Johan couldn't make it with us today. He is lacking sleep, which is, I don't think that's a valid excuse for a 7 p.m. But hey, let's go for it. It is Ramadan, and it is lockdown. So we thought we'd put Johan on in the background for a bit, so just in case we miss him. But today's show, we will be discussing self-betterment and how we can build traits within ourselves to help us become better people, not just for us but for other people, and how we can interact better with other people, how we can interact better with us, and how we can tackle situations that normally we'd face and we'd think, you know what, I can't do it, I want to give up, and basically along them lines. So I'll also let Ridwan and Shafy introduce us as well. We are live as well on each of our Instagrams. If you do want to speak to us on there, give us your thoughts. We are also on WhatsApp at 0744042042. But yeah, Ridwan, Shafy, anything to add?
Assalamu alaikum guys, just thought I'd give a salam before we start. Hope you're all well, hope your Ramadan's going very well as well. Inshallah. Hold on, we might be having technical difficulties.
We're not having technical difficulties.
I'm joking.
No.
We're not, but we're just making sure that everything's just working and so on. But today we will be talking, as Atik said, we're talking about self-development, self-betterment, traits of one of each other, and just general how we can be better as Muslims, how we can live better Muslims, better people, and as a Muslim as well. So it should be an interesting conversation, and get involved in the conversation as well. We'll be on each other's live, starting on my one, Ridwan__C. And if Shafy wants to invite
so, yeah, I'm on my live as well, Shaf197. So I was going to say, like, when we're talking about characteristics and self-traits, I think we should talk about what we want to do with ourselves in terms of, because obviously when, depending on your goals actually, if you want to be a better person in in a workplace, would you want to be more professional or would you want to be more social? Things like that, I'd say. So we talk about different things.
Okay. Yeah. So one thing I wanted to touch on, I was explaining this to Ridwan earlier on as well, is that self-betterment is a journey that a lot of us don't actually need to take, and we're sucked into it. But I'll probably get into that after we discuss a few more traits about how we can better ourselves. One of the ways, and we'll be talking through experience really, because we're not psychiatrists and we're not behavioral and cognitive people that have done all this research, but we'll be speaking from experience. And one thing that we discover through experience, what I discover through experience, for me to develop myself, I have to tackle things that I'm scared of directly. And it's basically a fear development. The barrier between you and your self-development is you, and the fear is you losing or you embarrassing yourself. And to combat that fear, just like any other fear, and I'm going to give an analogy of me and dogs. I'm not afraid of dogs anymore because I had to tackle that fear directly. And the way I had to do that is I was locked in a room for 2 hours with one that was just trying to come at me, and then at the end of it I was fine with it.
What's that room were you locked in?
It was St. John's Ambulance. We were doing some training. But while I was there, I was shook. That doesn't, I'm not gonna lie, I was shook. I was about to like pee myself, like, yo, there's a dog coming towards me. What am I gonna do? I'm a 16-year-old kid. He's gonna bite me. He's gonna eat me alive. It's only like VA small, but that's just a natural innate fear that we have. And what I've discovered is a big part of my development is that I'm a very introverted person, and I'm very scared to be in public and to speak in public, and be in such an atmosphere where I have to make artificial relationships, for example, networking events. And the way I've come across tackling it is actually putting myself in these situations. So, for example, part of my degree, it requires me to attend networking events, 12 of them to be precise, and with people that are way above me in social class and economic and all of that. And some people who have other people would have high regards for them, and I'm just literally this guy from Small Heath. And when I went there, the first time I went there, I was genuinely shook. I went with one of my colleagues from school, and both me and her were just like thinking, yo, what do we do? This is our first time. Luckily, thankfully for us, a female judge approached us, and she approached us, and she basically said, I targeted you guys because this is what you do at networking events. You go for someone who looks like they haven't got anyone to speak to, and you speak to them because they're in the same situation as you. And that's what helped us imagine a better way, a better thought process on how we should be tackling things. It was very beneficial for our first ever networking event for someone to approach us, because we've never done it before. Especially with the caliber of people that were there, we were basically thinking we're going to say something. I started stuttering because I'm like, yo, what do I say? But the thing that I found is through practice and through attending these networking events regularly, I've become better at them. I'm not amazing at them. I still hate them. I'm naturally introverted, and I would rather not go to a networking event. I'd rather go to the dentist 10 times than go to a networking event. But I understand networking is a big part of my career choice that I picked.
Don't you feel like as you get older as well, networking is more or less essential? So that's why you have to work towards that, I'd say.
It's essential, but I'm not talking about networking as such. I'm talking about building yourself as a person and building confidence and coming past barriers. And for me to develop, I realized that I needed to put myself in these situations that I don't want to be in, because the only person stopping me from becoming or developing is me. And because I didn't want to approach people and I didn't want to be in networking events, I never did it. When I was at undergraduate, when I was in Coventry Uni with you guys, there was a lot of networking events that the university put on for us in the hub. We had big giants from industry that came, put up with pop-up banners, and they wanted to talk to us, but I didn't want to talk to them because I was like, no, I don't feel like I'm comfortable enough to. Had I taken them opportunities back then, I believe that I could have improved a lot earlier on.
Yeah.
But I didn't have that mindset that I need to be tackling this. I just thought, you know what, I'm just going to hide away in my shell, and that didn't aid me at all in my self-improvement.
So you're talking really specific in one set of self development.
Mhm.
So like you're talking about communication and confidence. So would you say like that was something to build like your general self development as well as a person?
It is because, like I said, I'm a introvert.
So you're saying you're an introvert. What's so certain that you're an introvert though?
An introvert can tell you. Basically, there's as a person, I understand. Like I've read into introversion. There's a book called Quiet, which
Okay.
I recommend any introvert to read,
Right.
and it's basically a psychiatrist from New York, or somewhere in America, and she did a study on. It's based around American people, but it's a global thing, and she did a study on introverted people, and basically she defines what an introvert is, and you can sort of identify with that book. I've also taken psychometric tests, for example, the Myers-Briggs type indicator, which is the MBTI test.
Yeah, I've taken that.
Which you get all these weird personality tests, or which Harry Potter family do you belong to, or stuff like that. But this one is basically a lot more it's more psychiatry, sort of. Basically,
Yes, I get you. I mean,
it's a bit more.
It looks at your psychometrics as a person,
Yeah.
and it determines it through there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've taken them
So,
tests before. Yeah.
There's that. There's also the fact that I do not like socializing with people.
Right.
And
What if you do?
you guys would know that.
Yeah,
you guys would know
to an
that 'cause
aspect, yeah, so certain degree, yeah.
Yeah. So for me as a person, I was already a person who was contained within myself. I liked my own space. I like to stay behind the shadows and behind the scenes of things. I love doing things, but I love to stay behind the scenes. I didn't want to show my face.
Sounds a bit like me.
We'll show Shafy's face in a bit. So the way around it, and I think my course helped me a lot because I had to stand up in front of people and speak. Public speaking became a thing that I needed to do. And until I did it, that I probably would have come to a point where I can be on radio speaking, or I could be in front of a crowd speaking,
Okay.
or working in the fundraising scene that I did.
So how has that helped you as a Muslim then? Has it helped you as a Muslim? Let me ask that
As a
first.
Muslim, it has, because, for example, I am involved in charity work as well, and one of the things that I found is when I was actually employed as a fundraising officer for a humanitarian charity in the Midlands, that was the person I was describing was still me. It was in 2017, so I was still that person that loved doing these events, loved helping fundraising, loved consulting with everyone, loved helping my volunteers, but I would never want to show my face that, you know what, I'm doing all this for the charity. Right now, it's helped me because networking, something that I did not like, I realized that it helps me a lot. And because of the fact that I had to face that I need networking in my life, I can do it better now. Whether to bring companies on board, whether to bring sponsors on board, whether to gain trust of people so they can donate towards the charity that I work for, whether to help my masjid network out into the community, which is a big thing now that we need to be doing. It's helped me. It's helped me as a person, which vicariously also helped me carry on my duties towards my community as a Muslim.
Right. Okay. You kind of did and didn't answer my question though. to be
Okay.
fair. Do you get what I mean? Like, as a Muslim yourself, between you and Allah, how has it helped you in that situation? Do you get what I mean? As a Muslim, do you get what I mean? Not just like how you've helped other people and so on, but like, how is it? Do your relation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
See, my relationship with Allah, I'll be honest, it's been on and off. But my relationship with Allah has always been something for me, within me.
Of course.
And that's always, even whether I'm an introvert, extrovert, whatever,
Yeah.
I think for everyone, that relationship is a personal relationship with
Of course.
Allah. I don't think me adapting and developing myself as a human affected me in the sense of me adapting my relationship with Allah. I think that's a different struggle.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it wasn't connected literally 1 + 1 = 2, but I did get to that point through other ways. For
Okay.
example, like I said, helping my community, helping my masjid, all of that. That helps me spiritually as well, because I know I'm helping an Islamic institute. I know I'm helping the religion. I know I'm helping via indirect da'wah. But to answer your question, I personally don't think there was a link between my development as a person and my development as a Muslim.
Yeah.
But I think indirectly there's always that link. You being a great person
Yeah.
is indirectly
Is
a
directly-
great Muslim.
Yeah, of course, yeah. I
Because
agree.
that's what we're taught. Religion, regardless whether you're Muslim, Christian, Jewish, whatever,
Mm.
religion is a way of life, and
Mm.
the book that you're given in your religion is a guidance, a book of laws essentially to
Mm.
guide you through your life. And regardless what religion you are, your book will always say the good things and how to live life good and how to treat other people and how to develop as a human. So developing yourself is always religiously good as well.
Mm.
Yeah. I hear that.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. So that's one experience for yourself, isn't it? Though, to be
Mhm.
fair. So what about yourself, Shafy? So how is your like as a person self development? How's that moved on, and how have you developed through your years?
I'd say for me personally, it depends a lot about the people that I'm around, because as people say, if you want to get to know a person, just look at their friends, right? So that's something I took into consideration. Through secondary school, obviously, like you just become friends with people that you have and your classmates and stuff like that.
I
Right?
think more secondary school is people you just want to be friends with, isn't it? It's not
Yeah.
who you want to surround yourself, because
Yeah, I mean, it's who you want to
Yeah.
surround yourself with, just for like popularity,
yeah,
stuff like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And but exactly, so that's just one thing. But as you get older as well, and you go into college, especially university, there's so many other people out there that you can meet. And because in university, you got a lot of like self-study and stuff like that, so you get to choose what you want to do, which environment to be in, stuff like you could be in a library or you could be in a social hub or something like that, right? So I'd say personally for me, the people that I'm around made me better people. Like when I'm with you guys, I learned so many things that I wouldn't have done before. Say like stuff like cameras, cars, all of that kind of stuff, right?
In general,
Just,
yeah.
general knowledge and stuff like that.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I understand. I mean, for myself, I think it's a bit of both. What Atik said and you said as well. So how I'm taking it is like a life lesson. So through my life, I've mentioned it in another show before, but through my life, I've met people that are either in my life or not in my life, and they've taught me lessons. And through these lessons, I've taken on with me, and I've tried to make myself a better person and a better Muslim. So either that be certain traits that I've tried to take on from someone telling me, oh, you need to be like this, or you need to not be like this. Do you understand what I mean? So like, just being around people, that's how you become more wise, though, in general as well, isn't it?
And
so
I think it's a balance as well of being around like-minded people. And
like-minded
also
people, and then learning as well.
Yeah, people
So it's
that
like
you don't really associate with as well. So maybe
yeah,
like, you might be good at academics, but not at sports or something like that. So
exactly,
you hang around more people that go to that do sports. So then you try to develop yourself in that way.
I mean, yes, yeah, definitely. So I've for myself, I think it's more of like a trait, sort of like a mental sort of thing for myself. So I'm always trying to like better myself as a person. So say for example, like I'll always know when I'm wrong. I'll try to learn when I'm wrong. And when I'm wrong, I'll learn from my differences and how I can improve as myself. So that's an important way of improving and being self better.
Okay.
So
If
that's
you-
so. I was going to ask you.
I was going to say, if you can think of an example of maybe something that you are good at, and because when you teach people, I think that's a development in itself, isn't it? So something that you're good at, and something that you've taught someone maybe, or maybe inspired someone about, and also something that you're not so good at, and then you've tried to improve in that area as well, if you can.
I couldn't. To be fair, in traits, I couldn't say, to be fair, because obviously it's one of them ones where if someone's around me and I'm like that, I'm like myself around them, they'll like automatically like take on from that. So I wouldn't say I've gone out there teaching people.
No. I mean, that's we're talking more about personality there. I'd say maybe something like say for sports, for example, because say if you're not.
I think the only things I'm interested in is like cameras, cars, technology, and stuff like that. When I'm talking about cars, isn't it? So
yeah, so that's something that you teach, because like I say, you've taught me quite a bit about cars.
stuff
Like that, and
I get what you mean. Yeah, like just being like learning in general, just being about different things, being aware about different things as well. But like, I don't get how that would be like associated with like self development as well at the same time. Do you get what I mean?
Trying to bring it back to self-development, can any of you give a situation, like you said, being aware of your surroundings, stuff like that? Have you ever done any exercises or anything in your life that you changed? For example, writing journals or being a bit more aware about what's happening around you at that time in life, just to help you develop yourself further?
Definitely. I think one example for myself is I've somewhere deep in my phone, I've got a list of life goals, not accomplishments I want to achieve in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Just like what I want to do, where I want to be in certain amount of time, or what I want to do, achieve basically. I think that's a good motivation in terms of how can I reach that goal before I've got that certain amount of time. How can I reach that goal, and what I need to do to reach that goal. So if I need to improve myself as a person, basically.
See, that's great because something like that helps a lot for development. And one thing, so there's someone who said basically, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, "Oh, I want to leave the world knowing that I've done something in the world, that I don't want to just leave without doing anything positive." And that was it's very paraphrased, but it's something along them lines that Will Smith said, and that's something he lives by. And it's a very small mission statement that you give yourself for your life, that you know what, I want to achieve this, a selfless act or something, or I want to change someone's life through my positivity. And I think a big thing to do with self-development is having a positive mindset. And we all struggle with that. And we're all uni leavers. And one thing we struggle with when we leave uni is we all come out of this very stressful situation, very stressful education system, and we've come out into the world, which is a lot more stressful. We don't know what we're doing with our lives. We don't know what career to get into, although we've studied something for 3-4 years. And, you know, we're at this point in life where it's very stressful and it's hard to remain positive in these points of life. Is there any ways that you, to being in that point of life right now, find positivity in life?
I think looking at the good aspects of life. So what I'm looking at now, what I have now. So having, it's very basic stuff, but like, say for example, having a car, having food on the table, coming home to like my family, and having a job. Honestly, is like, and having friends in general. Just looking at the small things. I tried to be very positive. It's like the boys can agree with me. Like I try to keep that positive persona around all the time. It's just like, it's something to have around. Like you don't want to be around like sad, all that sort of stuff. Like keeping a positive mentality helps other people as well. Keeps that happy mood. So I think just looking at the small things, I'd say definitely is something that helped me. Like as soon as I finished uni, I'll give you an example. As soon as I finished uni, I was for a couple of months actually, to be fair. So as soon as I finished uni, I was working my part-time job. I was working through uni, so security, and I was in a very lost state then. So I didn't know what to do with my life, and I was like, what am I gonna do? Like obviously, I'm pretty sure a lot of people go through it, but after uni and they don't know what to do. But I was really confused, and I'd overthink everything, and I'd be like, what am I gonna do? How am I gonna do it? What am I applying for? So it's just something that you have to look for the positives in. Like at the time, I didn't look at the fact that I had a job already and I had stability and that sort of sense. But yeah, I mean, looking at the small things, 100%.
Gratitude is actually a big 100% thing.
Gratitude,
whether you read it in books, go on these educational and emotional and talks that you listen to. For self-betterment, they always mention gratitude. Something also that we can link back to what Nazia said to us on last Tuesday morning about her writing a gratitude journal. That helps you, that sets you up a lot for a positive day. Yeah. Because if you wake up in the morning and you write down what you're grateful for, and you write down that, you know what, I'm grateful for waking up, I'm grateful for my family, the little things that are everyday things to us. If we can be grateful for them, then we can have a positive mindset for the rest of the day. And that positivity will go on to help us, help our growth and help our self-betterment. Shafy, anything to add to what Ridwan just said, or anything about gratitude?
I mean, you pretty much covered it, really. It's very simple, isn't it? As in, just be grateful for what you have as well. And I think to look at maybe things that you don't have, what could it be like, you can ask yourself why you don't have it? Could that be something? And then you could work your way around it? You
could, but then that's something negative. And that's something I'm going to touch on after the break when you come back about...
Quick one before we go on the break. Detanvo, shout out Detanvo. He just said on the live, the beauty is in the journey, not the destination. And something you can relate back to, just looking at what you have during your destination of life. So during your journey of life. Sorry. Yeah, during your journey, I think that's something you really need to consider.
100%,
so
and
it's for that one.
It's a bit it's fulfillment, isn't it? If do you feel like you have fulfillment in your life? And do you feel like you have fulfillment in your life right now? Because there's no point stressing about the future if you're not happy right now. And that's your journey is now. Your destination will or will not come. But that's the stress for that time later on.
100%.
For now, are you in a state where you're happy with yourself? And you should be. You shouldn't think negatively. Even if you're drawn back on something or you're set back on something, you should still see the positive in it. Because you know what? I saw this on LinkedIn yesterday. Whether you somebody saying, I don't want to start this course because I'm 32 and I'm going to be 36 by the time in 4 years time when I finish the course. Regardless on whether you do the course now or not, you'll still be 36 at the end of the 4 years. So it's what you do in that time. You need to find that fulfillment. But something I did want to touch on, and I'll touch on this after we come back off the break, is the dark side of self-improvement. I don't think we discussed self-improvement enough to go on to that topic, but we are restricted on time, so I'll touch on that a bit just so the viewers get an idea of what the dark side is.
Should be interesting.
It is, and I'll point you towards where I got this information from as well, because I'm not going to be very great at delivering it, unfortunately, but speak to you after the break, guys. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. Welcome back off the break. Just before the break, we were talking about self-development. We were talking about positives of self-development, how we can develop ourselves further, what we can do, and we focused quite a bit on positivity and having positive traits and positive mindset before we can develop ourselves. One thing I did want to touch on is the negative side of self-development, and it's something Suzanne Eder, she did a TED talk, and it's not available on YouTube, it's quite short, where she discusses the dark side of self-improvement. And the reason why she discusses the dark side of self-improvement is because a lot of the times we don't need improvement, and it's a mindset that we fall into, and because we fall into it, we hurt ourselves, because whenever you fall for anything, you hurt yourself. And the reason why we fall into this is because we're expecting to be somewhere and we're not happy with where we are now, whereas the expecting to be somewhere is out of our control, whereas the place we're in now is in our control. And the reason why the example she gave is, for example, you working in a job and your manager telling you off for something. You can give an angry response back and excuses. But so there's two ways of reacting to something. There's reactive and proactive. Reactive is basically you just said something and I react to it. But proactive is me taking it in, understanding what's going on and then improving on it. And that's the easier one is react. Proactive is harder, because if you tell me off for something, I'm not going to think about it thinking, oh, you know what, that was wrong of me and I need to improve like this and I'm going to go on and do this. That's proactive and that'll improve me as a person, whereas reactive is me reacting to the environment. And reactive is external in the sense that the weather affects my mood, someone saying something affects my mood, someone's opinion on me affects my mood. That's all reactive. We shouldn't be a reactive person. We should be proactive. Proactive is looking within, and it's improvement from within, not waiting for external factors to affect us mentally. And when we're proactive, what we're doing is we have our own intellect, we have our own judgment, we have our own feelings inside us that tell us that this is what we should be doing, this is what makes us happy, and that's what we should be aiming to chase. We shouldn't be chasing, oh, this person thinks this of me and I need to change my mindset. I know we're in marketing as a side thing that we do, but and that's what we do. But in personal wise, you should be looking within yourselves, because you're at a stage where you do a lot of things and you are capable of a lot of things, but because you're not capable of that thing, you're putting yourself down, and that hinders self-improvement because it puts you into a negative mindset. So although it's self-improvement that you're yearning it from external factors. For example, when you're low on something, or you've fallen back on something, what do? You go to your friends for advice, which is great. But the thing is, the friend's advice is an external thing that's giving you a path to follow. You're following that external path, whereas that's not tailored to you. They may try to understand where you're coming from, what your position is, and all of that, but it's not tailored to you. What's tailored to you is what's within, what you understand. Because you understand that, oh, if I go down this route, I'll be happier. If I forget about this, I'll be happier. If I have fulfillment in my life right now, I'll be happier. Now, fulfillment is something that you need. For example, I said this example to you guys earlier about, a person, a photographer or a videographer buying a hell of a lot of equipment
Yeah.
that he knows he's not going to financially recover from.
Yeah.
But that's fulfillment in his life right at that moment.
Yeah.
Because he's got that equipment, he can be creative. Because he's got that equipment, he's happier, he's positive, and he's got that energy in him. Fulfillment, I want to draw a difference. It's not the same as gratification,
Yeah.
which is basically telling the kid that you can't have this sweet. If you have it, you're not going to get the 10 sweets later. That's instant gratification versus later gratification. Fulfillment is different in the sense that you're happy with where you are now, not what you have materially, but where you are now. And until you have that fulfillment, you can't improve. And what a yearning for self-improvement does is it takes away that fulfillment from your life, because you feel like you're less worth it. You feel like this, you can't get that promotion because you're not at a level where you can get it. You feel like he's at a level because he's been, with the manager doing whatever for all this time, he's going to get it. But until you tell yourself, you know what, I'm great at this job, and although I'm not getting it in this job right now in this company, I can go to another company and get it. You need to have that mindset. Until you have that mindset, you're drawing yourself back and you can't develop yourself.
Yeah. No, I understand that. It's I'd say it's attitude, but I kind of agree and disagree with your point on terms of the dark side of it all. So it's you as a person, it's your traits, it's your mindset in terms of if you want to accept that you're wrong, or you want to accept that I need to learn from this, so on and so forth. So I feel like it's just not a fact of I need self-development, or I'm better, I'm the best I can be at this. There's always room to improve, or there's always a way to improve yourself. So I feel like it's not just self-development, but it's traits that make up self-development.
But where did the traits come from?
That's the thing. So it's an external factor as well. But going back on your sort of thing, how are you going to learn them traits without your friends or external environmental factors like your friends, being around different people, learning from different people? Like, how are you supposed to learn different traits and self-development and become more wise if you're not, say, for example, learning from other people? But that's just one way of learning.
There is that learning, and that's one of the two of the people on my live commented that as well, about having the right positive people around you. But that's learning from them in the sense that, you know what, they're doing this positive thing, I'm learning from them.
Yeah.
They're doing this negative thing, I'm learning from them not to do it. But taking advice, you should look within yourself for advice. You should be asking yourself for the advice first, because we all know it 100%. Because whenever we give advice, we always laugh it off. I'm good at giving advice, but I'm not great at taking it.
Yeah.
You always know the advice because you've given it to other people before. The hardest thing to do is to swallow that pill yourself. So once the best person to go for advice is within yourself, because you already know what's right for you and you already know what's wrong for you. So learning from people by watching what they're doing and all of that, and not proactively going to them and be like, what have you done to do this? I understand. But I understand where you're coming from as well, that for us to learn, we need to ask, how have you become successful? Teach me. Because
it's going on. I think Johan said it a couple of episodes ago. He said, every problem that someone's ever faced, as someone in the past has already faced, it's already happened, isn't it? So it's your job to not like dwell on it or be sad about it or try or do whatever. It's your job to like go learn or find out the reason for it or find out the cure for it. Not the cure, but like a reason for you to not dwell on something or be sad or something or be negative on something. So I think it's a case of having to learn as well, learning them traits, learning what it takes to have better self-development as well. If you understand what I mean.
Again, learning, I know you can do it from friends.
Yeah, but obviously there's
until
books,
it's within.
You can't just learn off, say, for example, knowing what's good for you and what's bad for you as well.
It's not that. It's just until you're ready to learn.
Yeah.
You're not gonna.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, you can be friends with Bill Gates all your life, but you can still be earning 50k, 50k as an employee somewhere, and not be at a point where you've made your own tech company because you didn't want to learn. And it's also prioritizing your time. One thing, there was a study where they asked, it's called cognitive dissonance, I believe, and it's basically where, if I ask you right now, I'm going to ask you too actually, what's the most important thing in your life, Ridwan?
Thing,
people, whatever.
Probably my mum.
Okay, Shafy, what's the most important thing in your life?
Depends which way
Just-
we go about it. Like
just give me
religion or
just give me anything. Go on.
most important thing in my life
Yeah.
right now.
I ain't got time, bro.
Provide sustainability for my family.
So family again.
Yeah.
All right. See, both of you said something very common, which
Yeah.
is family.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
But
not,
it is 100% is.
yeah.
And the thing, what cognitive dissonance is basically, I'd say family as well. I'd say my mum as well.
Mm.
But our actions aren't that. Do you get it?
Yeah.
Although we say our family, our health, all of that, rather than doing exercise for 15 minutes, we'd rather be on YouTube for that 15 minutes. What do we put first? We don't put the important things in our lives first.
Mm.
And it's being in that having that mindfulness about where you are and what you're doing.
Mm.
That will help development. Because if, for example, we say family, but how often do we see our families? How often do we sit down on the table, around the table as a family?
I can say quite often, to be fair.
Alhamdulillah, that's great. But now as well, because of lockdown, I can say that's quite a lot often as well, and because of Ramadan. But outside of Ramadan, I'll be honest with you, one of us is in front of the TV, two of us are in front of our phones, and we're all eating in different rooms.
Yeah.
But we'll all answer the same, whether it's my mum, dad, sister, or whoever. We'll all say our families are the most important thing in our life.
I think that's
Yeah.
naturally the case for everyone, isn't it?
It's naturally, but it's
Yeah.
something that we don't do. Why don't we put our families first? Because
Fair point.
we're not mindful of what's going on around us. You know,
Mm.
we're not mindful of the fact that all these people and all these things that we class as important to us aren't the things that we're going towards. I can say, oh, my happiness is important to me and my creativity is important to me. Well, how do I get creativity? Through photography, videography, through media and arts. But what do? I rather go, push forms at a law firm, and I'm basically doing paperwork. Paperwork doesn't bring me happiness. It doesn't bring me contentness. It doesn't bring me mindfulness.
Mm.
But I've made that more important than me learning how to use my camera
Yeah.
because
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
chasing that paper.
Mm.
But that's not going to help me develop until I understand that my mindfulness and me prioritizing the things that are important to me
Mm.
are prioritized first.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And without that, the development stage isn't complete. You can't develop without understanding first on where you are in life.
Yeah,
No, I understand 100%. Everyone's at a different stage of their life.
Mm.
I think even with that, it's something we can talk about as well. Is like traits. We briefly touched up on it recently, well, a couple episodes ago as well. Traits of a person, like as a Muslim as well, you're supposed to have certain traits and follow Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, of course, isn't it? So it's one of them ones where you're as you're going through life, you're learning self-development, but you're improving on your traits and you're dropping traits that you shouldn't be having, and you should be improving, like growing on good traits as well. So like, say for example, I don't know, like what's a trait that you feel like you could improve on, boys? Atik, I'll start with you.
Me,
Yeah.
my attention, my attentiveness,
Okay.
and that's I'm gonna link that with studying. Although I said I don't like law, I do like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, I've set myself a goal that I know where I want to be in life.
Yeah.
But I'm not dwelling on it. But I'm also not living in the moment now because I know I need to do X, Y, and Z now. I know I need to read now. I know I need to do all this now. But I'd rather get distracted. I think for me to develop, I need to first develop a way where I don't get distracted easily.
Yeah.
I don't say yes to friends.
Don't stop that.
Huh? No, of course. Like I'll. There's a limit though,
Of course.
because you can be with friends, but if they're not giving you benefit, there's honestly, like, I'm not being mean, but there's no point in being with them friends. Like you guys just said, we learn from our friends. If I'm not learning from you guys, or if I'm not, developing myself or developing you or developing something, then is there really a reason? Because we're just wasting time then.
Yeah.
Because that's me wasting your time as well as you wasting my time. You have to look at it that way.
Yeah.
Playing FIFA like for 2 hours is calm because it's something relaxing and something that you can be competitive on and all that. Playing FIFA for 5 hours is a waste of time,
Yeah.
in my
Yeah.
opinion. Shafy's agreeing, but he does it.
Yeah.
He's guilty of it.
I've done 3 hours.
Okay. Balance.
But
Give you that.
me, Ridwan, we've done it before.
Yeah.
In your house, and I don't know how you felt after that, but the way I felt after that is, that's a long time I just spent playing FIFA.
Yeah.
And that time we could both have been developing ourselves. For example, me and my sister have been cooking recently.
Paying.
So I've only decided to start cooking recently, and I'm learning. My sister's a lot younger than me, and she's also learning at the same time. But when I sit down to learn coding, I have my sister next to me. When I sit down to figure out how my camera works, I give it to my sister for a whole day. Be like, you mess about with it, because I know I'd rather her utilize her time learning how to use that camera than finding out what's going on in the K-pop life. But that's what the kids are doing these days, and for them to develop, we need to know how we develop, and we need to bring them into that.
That's a thing of learning from your environment as well. So
Yeah.
That's one thing as well. So I think your environment's a big thing for your self-development as well, and traits as well. But yeah, going back on traits as well. What about yourself? What's a trait that you can improve on, Shafy?
Agree with me if it is a trait or not, but I'd say speaking more openly about my emotions and stuff like that, because I think I don't do that too often, and I don't know if speaking about things that are on my mind will help me develop.
Yes and no.
Yes
I
and no.
agree. I kind of agree what you're trying to say, because
So what I'm trying to say is, like, say if you've got something on your mind or something like that, it's best to speak about it, because that way, at least if you tell your friends about it, then they can give you advice and stuff like that, rather than just keeping it to yourself and then trying to figure things out yourself. So that's something I need to work on. But
I think
depends on the
with that comes
situation.
time, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
it comes
everything comes with time. So inshallah, as you come as a person, as you grow as a person, you become more open with the people that are important to you.
I would say so. Yeah.
Also, when just coming back to the networking thing, when I said I was really not into networking, someone just commented, and I want to give him a shout out. His name's Itishami Smile, or Shami Smile on Instagram.
Yeah.
He's a storyteller, and he does amazing things through his videos. And from my creative side, I learn of people like him and Uthman and all these people that are already at a pinnacle of, I'm pretty sure he's going to disagree, and he's probably got a lot more to go. But for me, he's at a stage where I'd probably want to be within the next 2 years. And I've set myself 2 years to do it, but these lot are already on it. And the way I came across finding people like them is through initiatives like Lens Connect, which was a networking scene for creatives. Again, before I joined, I was already invited to go to one, and I didn't, because I was too shook, because I'm like, no, I'm an introvert. I'm going to stay in my shell. I'm going to stay in my house. I'm going to learn off YouTube, all of that. I don't want to meet new people. But until I did it, and I did it because I was coming out. Again, people go into another thing that hinders self-progression and betterment is depression and anxiety. And a lot of people, especially now, are falling into depressive episodes. I was in one of those at that time. That's why I reached out to an initiative like Lens Connect, where I knew, you know what, for me to have positive thoughts, I need to be in a situation where I've got my camera around me, I've got creatives around me, and I can improve. Because if I'm improving,
that's sort of your getaway, isn't it?
Yeah.
So camera and being around creatives.
100%. Because one of the guys, Habibul_I, he even said that back in uni when he was suffering from stress, he started cooking and baking, and that helped him a lot, because it's developing in a specific thing that's helped him develop as a human, as a person. Developing a specific skill gives you confidence, and with that confidence you can do a lot more. Developing in my photography and videography gives me confidence to meet clients and do projects. Just before 2 months, I never did a paid project for my video. I did photography, but I never did a video paid project. And now I'm being asked to do one tomorrow. So alhamdulillah. But for me, if I didn't take that step, that I knew that I need to have a positive mindset where, I know my work's not, A1. But I know I can develop on it. And for me to develop on it, I need to take that first step. So that shout out to Sham, by the way. That's where it came from.
Fair enough. Oh, going back on your one first, actually. Sorry.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah. Sorry, what were you saying about?
I was just saying mainly for myself personally, I don't really speak about my feelings or anything like that. I don't know whether it's because I wouldn't say I'm not a sensitive person, not too much of a sensitive person. I'd say that's probably a reason why.
I think it's probably because you're from Small Leaf.
Oh no, that place is very
Got a life. No, I'm joking.
Whoa.
Shout out all the people from Small Leaf. I'm joking, but I understand. I completely understand where you're coming from in terms of that. I think
you're just saying like life experiences, isn't it? Like as you get older, so do different things, go out there and interact with different people, because that way, like we said before at the start of the show, being around people kind of pushes on you as well. I'd say so. I feel like I'm coming around to it.
I think that's only because me and Atik are very open in that
in that
sort of
sense,
situation. Because I'll openly discuss with you guys, or how I'm feeling, or if I'm
I'd
down about something.
I'd comment on it, but I wouldn't speak from my perspective in a sense.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
I think your comment was like, oh, yeah, it can be this way, but it's that way as well.
Just have that balance.
Yeah,
It's very,
that 50-50.
very balanced opinion, isn't
So,
it?
one thing when I was researching about the today's topic was to be assertive. So there's 7
Yeah.
traits that you need to have. So when we're on about traits,
Yeah.
this show is too short to be speaking about this topic. But I'm going to touch on one of them, and one of them is assertiveness. And if you're not assertive and confident in saying an exact thing, there's no development that's going to be happening. And assertiveness, for example, is standing up for yourself. Whether it's telling your friends, "Oh, you know what, you're taking the mick," because sometimes friends are they really your friends? Because sometimes friends just use you as a battering ram. They just all the cussing and all the beating downs happen to you, and it hurts emotionally. Because then what happens is you realize that, you know what, anytime I'm doing something good, or anytime I'm doing something, these lot are taking the mickey out of me, then I don't want to do it anymore. But you need to be assertive and stand up for yourself. When your boss is telling you that, you need to do this, you're behind time on this, that, you need to be assertive enough to be like, yo, I want that promotion and I want it by the end of the year. Because if you don't ask for that promotion, you don't have the confidence to, your bosses are going to notice you. All of that.
100%.
Understand that,
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, assertiveness, definitely. I think something we can all take from this show as well, to be fair. Definitely. I think one thing, to be fair, I wanted to talk about is a trait that I could improve on is pride. So I like to try and avoid being prideful, but it's like little small things. So say, for example, I take pride in, say, Bangladesh, or I'm a bad boy driver, or I'm sick at card. Like, I take too much pride in it.
Nearly got pulled over 5 times on the way here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like, I take too much pride. I don't know. And I look back at it and I'm like, I hate how I'm like that sometimes.
Is it pride? It could be passion as well, maybe.
No, it's not. It's pride. I'll honestly say it's pride, and I hate the fact that I have pride in them sort of things. You shouldn't take pride in anything.
So,
to be fair,
Kibr is wrong. Kibr, which is pride in Islam, is wrong.
it's very
and it's
wrong.
haram.
Yeah.
But there's a sense of pride that you should have, in terms of, I'm proud to be Muslim.
Yeah.
I'm proud to be a representative of my people.
Yeah.
I'm proud that I can achieve this. I'm proud that I can get this promotion. I'm proud that I can help my mum. That pride isn't wrong.
Yeah.
You being proud of being Bangladeshi is not wrong.
I think it's when
You-
you
I
start.
think no, but
when it comes to nationalism-
levels of it, isn't there?
Yeah.
So do you know when people are like, my country did this and my country beat your country at cricket and
Yeah.
blah blah blah. There's so many levels to it, and there's do you get what I mean? Like you need to bring the pride, like that type of pride, basically. Like I try to avoid, like the Tanvos has said something now, ego. That's something I avoid completely. To be fair, I think ego is a very dangerous trait to have. To be fair.
Ego is something that's balanced. So you got the ego and the alter ego, I believe, and they all balance each other. And when there's no balance, and when the ego is overpowering everything else, that's when it's dangerous. But you do need ego, because without ego, you'd be that shy guy that I was in 2017. If I never had an ego, then I'd just be still hidden away right now. I wouldn't be on this show.
I think ego is dangerous when it's starting to harm the person around you. I think.
Ego helps with confidence.
Does it?
Yeah, because when you study psychology, there's 3 parts. There's the id, the ego, and the alter ego, and each of them balance each other out, and you need them.
Okay.
Having too much 100% is wrong, because that's again pride. Because if you think, the ego of I've got this car, and all these people are below me, that's the wrong ego. But the ego that I've got this car and I can do things with it and I can help people with it, that's different. But that's still ego.
Ego though.
Yeah, psychologically it is.
Okay, I've something. I need
Do
to
read
back
into
on.
it.
Yeah, I do need to read back. I've never come across something like that.
So it's the 3 that balance each other out.
Yeah.
And ego helps with your that sense of that feeling that you get, that you feel great about something.
Yeah.
That's also ego.
So it's when I say, for example, I lawn mow the garden, it looks nice.
That's
that
ego. Yeah, that's ego.
But
But
it's
it's-
something I talk to myself about. Like, that looks so nice.
Yeah, ego doesn't have to. Ego isn't something that's external.
Right.
Ego comes from within.
Okay. Yeah.
Do
Okay,
you
I
get
get
it?
that.
Whether
yeah,
you're saying it to yourself or you're saying it to Shafy, I lawn the mower today. Check it out.
Yeah.
It's whoever you say it to, is still ego.
Fair enough.
We'll have Sonia on the show next week, I believe, who's a psychiatrist.
I want to
and
hear more about that.
yeah, you can definitely ask her.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we've only got 2 minutes left.
What?
Yeah, so these 1 hour slots do run out very quickly, unfortunately. This is a topic that I really want to discuss further, and inshallah, when we go into podcasting, it is something that we'll discuss with a bit more research. Obviously, today we were just drawing from experience and the little research that we do have and understanding that we have of self-development as a person.
Yeah, just to quickly touch on why we spoke about self-development traits and so on, is because as a Muslim, you're supposed to have certain traits and always developing yourself as a person. So learning from yourself, learning from your mistakes and so on. So this is why you need to become, as a Muslim, you need to improve yourself constantly. And Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had certain traits that we need to follow on as a person as well. So character is a very important thing in Islam. So that's something where I feel like we needed to touch today. All of us needed to speak about today and how we can learn from them, to be fair. So I feel like this is why a good way to kick off. So when the 10 days do come on our Wednesday show, and I think it will be a very good, interesting show, to be fair.
So Wednesday, when we do come back, we're not doing Tuesday mornings anymore. Wednesday morning, when we do come back, we'll be on the 20th day, and we'll be coming up to the 21st night. That day, we were going to talk about mental health, but we decided to dedicate the day to talking about the last 10 nights. Inshallah, we'll try to do a bit more research about it. We'll also have Johan back on, and inshallah we can discuss how we're preparing for the last 10 nights. If you guys join us live as well, then you can tell us how you're preparing. But until then, you can get us on our social media. We are at Better Together Show on Instagram. We are Be Together Show on Twitter, and we are also on SoundCloud. If you want to hear back on some of our shows, we've got our show about work-life balance. We've got our fitness show with After BT and Nazir Khatun on there as well. A show about intention. So do go and check it out. Until then, I've been Atik.
I've been Ridwan.
I've been Shafy.
And we have been the Better Together Show. We're always better together here in the studio and out there. We're all better together. Remember that. Keep the Ramadan spirit up, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.